Or Leodalet Shevat Tafshin Ain Hayet. We're studying Golden Dots with Silver Dots, chapter or section 4, part 4, page 84. This chapter is key to understanding Gemara, and it really whenever I study Gemara, I always draw upon the ideas in this chapter. The ideas in this chapter come primarily from Igeret Sherira Gaon and other similar sources in the Geonim, so it's absolutely, as I said, essential to understanding the Gemara and the tradition of the Geonim and the Chachmenu Sena. So I love studying this, and here I am teaching it to my sons. So, Chabod, you want me to read, or you? Yeah, Chabod. So why don't you read? Joey, Yosef, Yitzhak, follow it, please.
Textuality in rabbinic tradition.
Right.
Textuality designates that which pertains to the structural and functional aspects of a text.
Right, so every text has a structure. For example, you have in the Chumash, you have Perashiyot, you have Perasha Setuma, you have Perasha Petucha, right? And then between the Chumashim, you have a space between the Chumashim. When you have, at the end of the book of Bereshit, you can have a certain number of lines, and then you go to the book of Shemot, right? So that's the structure, and then you have the function. Each part has a different function. So we're going to study about that.
Regardless of whether the format is written or oral.
And this is very important. A text doesn't need to be a written text. I gave an example of a Chumash. Mishnayot is Be'al Peh. And also Mishnayot has a structure. So a text can be either written, Bichtav, Torah shebichtav, or it could be oral, Torah shebe'al Peh. So Mishnayot also has a structure, and it's divided into Perakim, into Masechtot. The Perakim are divided into Halachot, right? So structure. Then there's a function, so that's what we're going to be studying about.
Text is somewhat more difficult to define.
But what is a text exactly?
Within the limits of this work, it will be defined as a composition designed for transmission.
So, for example, if I scribble on a piece of paper, you all understand it's not a text, right? Right? If I write something very important, and I say, I want you to give this to my father, that's a text. Why? It's a message that I'm asking you to transmit to someone, or it could be the message that I write to you. So the difference between a text and a non-text, you can have just scribbling or unimportant cacophony, is that a text is something that was written so that it can be transmitted to others, such as the Torah. Torah was Torah Svalanu Moshe. The Torah was written by Moshe Rabbeinu from Pi HaGevura, of course, so that he can transmit it to Bnei Yisrael. So that's a classic example of it's actually the ultimate text, right?
As we shall see, transmission is essential to the very notion of text.
Right, and then Mesira, you have Mesira, and you have the text. So if you have a written text and it's not to be Masur, to be Nimsar, then we don't consider it a text.
The central theme for this chapter is the concept of text among the rabbis,
right?
And its constitutive elements and functions as reflected in Talmudic tradition.
Right. So we're going to see how the Hachamim in the Gemara viewed the concept of text, and what makes up the text, what is it made of, and what is the function. All this based upon the Gemara. So when you study this, now you're going to understand much of the Gemara in a special way.
The focus of analysis will be the formative period of rabbinic tradition, from after the destruction of the temple, more precisely the destruction of Beter, until the formulation of the Mishnah by Yehuda Hanasi.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're going to focus on from a historical perspective is after the destruction of Bayit Sheni, right, all the way on to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who was the that formulated the Mishnah, right?
Mm-hmm. The underlying thesis of this study may be summarized as follows.
So now we're going to this is going to be just a summary of the entire part 4. Here it is.
Under the leadership of Rabbi Akiva and his school, the rabbis undertook a project of momentous importance.
Very important. Who started this whole thing of making the Mishnah? Everybody says, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi did it. It's true, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi did it, but he didn't start it, he only finished it. The person who started formulating the Mishnayot is Rabbi Akiva.
The collection and official formulation of Jewish tradition. a project without parallel until about half a millennium later, when Muslim scholars collected and edited the Hadith, accepting perhaps the formulation of Roman law.
Right. So the project of the Mishnah was a simply monumental project. And what are the Mishnayot? What is Rabbi Akiva started this project? And as I said, we don't understand it, but what's the idea of the project? The idea is to collect all of the official halachot in Jewish tradition. So we have many, many halachot. We have many Tannaim, and the Tannaim had Talmidim, and these Talmidim received halachot from their teachers. Official halachot. We're not talking about unofficial halachot. There's a lot of things, I don't know, I'm taking a note, I'm summarizing something in Ilchot Halah. So I just took some notes. It's not an official text. It's just private, it's my private note. But on the other hand, let's say I decide to write Ilchot Halah, and now I say, here's Ilchot Halah, I give it to you. That's an official formulation. If I'm the Rosh Yeshiva, it's an official formulation. I give me, get me a tissue or something from your room. So the point is, that we're dealing here with the official formulations of halachot. These existed prior to the Rabbi Akiva. There was always official halachot, right? Each Bet Midrash had a Tana Debe Eliyahu. You have Tana Debe Eliyahu. So they had the Bet Midrash of Eliyahu. They had their collection of halachot. You had the Bet Midrash of Shammai, of Hillel. You had different Batei Midrash, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. So they all had their Batei Midrash and they all formulated halachot. These are official formulations of halachot. What did Rabbi Akiva start doing? He wanted to start collecting everything and turning it into a coherent unit.
This project was a catalyst for new textuological concepts.
Now, once Rabbi Akiva and his Talmidim started this project, they started coming up with new ideas related to the science of text. There's different levels of text. We'll see what these are.
To begin with, it became imperative to distinguish between written and oral text.
Okay, so the first, let's call it a scientific category in the thinking of the Chachamim is, there's Be'al Peh and there's Bichtab. Okay, so it started in these days. So we have, all right, so it's not in the Rabbi Akiva. So we have now, some texts are considered written. Yes, Devarim Shebichtav. Right, for example, of course, the Chumash, the Nevi'im, the Ketuvim, right? Some things are considered Be'al Peh. So there's two types of text. And whether something is considered Be'al Peh or Bichtav, you need to know because there's different ways to treat it.
But Mehillah, the Torah Shebichtav and Torah Shebe'al Peh, the distinction was given already from Har Sinai.
Well, I mean, it's correct that we received lessons from Moshe Rabbeinu, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu taught us what the tefillin are, he taught us what the melachot of Shabbat are, but these weren't reduced to a specific text.
But what I'm saying is...
So you can teach your Talmid, and I can teach my Talmid, and Yitzchak can teach his Talmid, and we can each teach it in our own way, what we heard from Moshe Rabbeinu, right? There was no text yet, right? There was the Torah Shebe'al Peh, which contained the lessons of Moshe Rabbeinu, but there was no official text.
But I'm saying the officiality of the Torah Shebe'al Peh was already...
No, we're not saying that the Torah Shebe'chas v'shalom wasn't official, or it wasn't formulated yet. There was no formulation. So one of the things that Igeret Shiri Gaon speaks about is that the Torah Shebe'al Peh was taught, that everybody taught it in their own language. It doesn't mean that you taught what you wanted and I taught something else. But we expressed it differently.
So basically, Torah Shebe'al Peh was leimental, mamash leimental, until we received it, until we formulated it.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure, but let's continue. I think you get the idea. You would agree with me that the Chumash, there was a very, very precise, rigid set of letters and words and how you write it and where you put the Perashat, Petuchat, everybody there. And whereas in Halakha, every teacher taught it as he wanted to teach it. Not that there were machlokot, there were no machlokot. We know only later on there was machlokot, and there were very, very few machlokot. But the point is that this is the way it was, and then Rabbi Akiva came and he started dealing with this idea of a written text and an oral text.
Mm-hmm. This difference was postulated on the basis.
Because before there was no oral text. That's the point.
So the faculty.
There was a written text. There was no oral text because there was no formulation of Torah Shebe'al Peh. So no, this split didn't exist. The split existed once the Rabbi Akiva decided to create this text. Then now you have a written text versus an oral text. Before this, you had a Torah Shebichtav and a Torah Shebe'al Peh, of course, but the Torah Shebichtav had a text and the Torah Shebe'al Peh did not have a text. That's the point.
The textual dimension. That's
right.
Okay. This difference was postulated on the basis that only the scripture possesses a written text, that is, a masorah, or duly registered text, that could be expounded at the orthographic level independently of its linguistic sense.
Okay, so first of all, when you talk about a written text, now that we have written text, comes Rabbi Akiva, we have also oral text, halachot. One of the things about a written text, and you can't do this in an oral text, is you can look at the written text at the orthographic level, meaning at the level of the otiyot. You can look at the letters, you count the number of letters, and you say, this milah is haser, it has a vav. Elokim with the vav after the lamed, or hamaleh, or haser, right? So sometimes you have the word isha written without a he, right? Sometimes it's written with a he. So now in the Mishnayot, it's less important to us the number of letters. Nobody knows the number of letters in each Mishnah. Nobody counted it. It's not a significant issue, right? So, but for the Chumash, you have one letter missing in the Sefer Torah, or one additional letter, no good, right? You have to affix it so the Sefer Torah is kasher, right? In the Mishnayot, there's nothing like this. You don't have an orthographic level to the Mishnayot. We have the formulation of words. Yes, so Metai Korim, Etshema, Be'avid, or Yesiot Shabbat, Shetai Shabbat Bifnim, or B'mei Shayasea, B'mei Nayasea, and so on and so forth. You have the words, right? But there's B'mei Isha. Is there a he? I mean, I guess there's a he there, yes. All these questions of B'mei Isha, Yosea. Is there a vav after the yod, Yosea? Is it Yosea Haser or Maleh? We don't מסתכלים על orthographic level of the Mishnayot because it's an oral text. You understand? Yitzchak didn't put Be'al Peh and Bichtav. Bichtav means we care about the katuv. So each letter has to be there. And there's a specific number of letters. But Be'al Peh, we don't care. We care about the words and the formulation. We don't care about the letters.
Mm-hmm. Hence, a profound concern developed with written aspects of the scriptures.
And because of that, they became very, very makpidim on how you write the Sefer Torah.
The orthography of words.
Right.
Defective and full spelling.
You can have maleh and you can have haser.
And calligraphic ornamentations.
So calligraphy, for example, you have the ketarim over the words, right? Over the letters, right? So some letters you can have like the tagim, with the Sefer Torah over the letters you have not all the letters. You have tagim,
kishutim,
shatnez ges, right? So a shatnez ges. So over those letters you have the tagim, right? So and you're supposed to put the tagim there, right? So they're not just concerned with the number of letters; they're concerned with how the letters are written, and the shape of the letters, and that there has to be a space, kehot se'ara, between each letter. And if the letters are touching, it's pasul. And if there's too much space between the letters, it's no good because then it looks like two separate words. And if the bet looks like a kaf, it's pasul. And if the dal looks like a resh, it's pasul. Masechet Shabbat of kof kaf. So the point is, all this, all these issues with how the letters are written, you don't have that in the Mishnah. You have it in the Torah because the Mishnah is Be'al Peh and the Torah is Bichtav. Chumash is Bichtav. Chumash is Bichtav, and the Mishnah is Be'al Peh. You understand?
These became significant. They could acquire meaning through canonical exegesis.
Right. So these became significant, right? And there was Rabbi Akiva who would actually make a derasha on the tagim of the letters. Canonical exegesis means the derashot of the Hachamim.
The perception of the past was also affected by this concern.
Okay. So also we look back at time, and this new textuological concepts affected how we look at the past. Namely,
For example, the title for the sages of the preceding generations, Sofer, the Soferim, scribe, was interpreted to mean he who counted every letter in the Torah.
Right, Ezra HaSofer. Why is it called Ezra HaSofer, Aiki? Ezra HaSofer. Why Sofer? Why were they called Soferim? Because they would literally count the letters. They had to make sure that every letter written in the Torah was supposed to be there, right?
Gnosticism served to
Right,
indulge.
so I said the G is actually silent, so it's Gnosticism.
Gnosticism served to endow the written aspects of the text
Right.
with intellect
Right, so it served to endow the written aspects of the text with intellectual.
and religious significance.
Right, and they actually, then we had some of the mystics of that generation. They began to make special derashot on the letters themselves and give it certain religious significance. So, for example,
Books such as Sefer Yesirah
right, Sefer Yesirah, the famous Sefer Yesirah.
and Otiyot Rabbi Akiva,
Another book of Otiyot, the alphabet of Rabbi Akiva. What are they about?
in which creation is conceived in terms of letters, illustrate the textological function of
Gnosticism.
Gnosticism.
So they actually they created a whole, let's call it mystical ideology around the focus on letters and the ornamentation of the letters and the importance of each letter. So these books reflect that particular idea.